In the heart of the Middle Ages, a powerful movement swept across Europe, forever altering the course of history. This era was marked by a fervent religious zeal and a quest for dominance that would shape the world for centuries. This movement, known as the Crusades, was a series of religious wars sanctioned by the Catholic Church. These wars were not just battles but were seen as holy missions, driven by faith and the promise of eternal salvation. The Crusades spanned roughly 2 centuries, beginning in 1095 and lasting until the late 13th century. Over this period, numerous campaigns were launched, each with its own unique objectives and outcomes. Driven by a complex mix of religious zeal, political ambition, and economic desire, European Christians embarked on a series of expeditions to the east. These journeys were perilous, fraught with danger and uncertainty, yet fueled by a fervent belief in their divine mission. Their primary objective was to wrest control of the Holy Land, particularly Jerusalem, from Muslim rule. Jerusalem, a city sacred to Christians, Muslims, and Jews alike, became the focal point of these intense and often brutal conflicts. The Crusades were ignited by a call to arms from Pope Urban II in 1095. His impassioned plea at the Council of Clermont resonated deeply with the European nobility and commoners alike. The Byzantine Empire, centered in Constantinople, was facing pressure from the Seljuk Turks, a powerful Muslim force expanding westward. The threat to the Byzantine territories was imminent and dire. The Byzantine Emperor, Alexios I Komnenos, appealed to the Pope for military assistance. This appeal was a pivotal moment, setting the stage for the unprecedented mobilization of European forces. Urban II seized upon this opportunity to rally Christian Europe against the perceived threat of Islam. He envisioned a united Christendom standing strong against a common enemy. He saw a chance to unite Christendom under a common cause and potentially heal the schism between the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches. This schism had long divided the Christian world, and the Crusades offered a potential path to reconciliation. The Pope delivered a powerful sermon at the Council of Clermont in France. His words were charged with emotion, painting a vivid picture of the suffering of Christians in the Holy Land. He painted a vivid picture of Muslim atrocities against Christians in the Holy Land, invoking a sense of outrage and a desire for retribution. This narrative stirred the hearts of many, compelling them to take up arms. Urban promised spiritual rewards, including remission of sins, for those who took up the cross and embarked on a holy war. The response was electrifying, with thousands pledging their lives to the cause. Thousands of people from all walks of life heeded the Pope's call, eager to liberate the Holy Land and secure their place in heaven. This mass mobilization included not only knights and soldiers but also peasants, women, and children. The Crusades were more than just religious pilgrimages, they were also complex military campaigns. These campaigns required strategic planning, resources, and coordination on an unprecedented scale. European armies, often composed of knights, foot soldiers, and mercenaries, marched across vast distances, facing grueling conditions and fierce resistance. The journey to the Holy Land was arduous, testing the resolve and endurance of the Crusaders. The Crusades had a profound impact not only on the Middle East but also on Europe itself, shaping political landscapes, economies, and cultural exchange for centuries to come. The interactions between different cultures led to significant exchanges of knowledge, technology, and ideas. They left behind a legacy of both triumph and tragedy, forever intertwined with the history of Christianity, Islam, and the medieval world. The echoes of the Crusades can still be felt today, reminding us of a time when faith and conflict were deeply entwined. The First Crusade from 1095 to 1099 stands as a testament to the potent mix of religious fervor and military prowess that fueled the early crusading movement. It was a remarkable feat of endurance, strategy, and sheer determination that resulted in the establishment of Christian crusader states in the Holy Land. Responding to Pope Urban II's call, tens of thousands of Europeans, from nobles to peasants, embarked on the arduous journey east. Led by prominent figures like Godfrey of Bouillon, Raymond IV of Toulouse, and Bouillon I of Taranto, the Crusader armies faced numerous challenges. These included logistical nightmares, internal squabbles, and fierce resistance from the Seljuk Turks who controlled much of Anatolia, which is modern-day Turkey. Despite these obstacles, the Crusaders achieved significant victories. The Siege of Nicaea in 1097 marked an early triumph, followed by the hard-fought Battle of Dorylaeum. These victories paved the way for the Crusader advance into the heart of the Holy Land. In 1099, the Crusaders finally reached Jerusalem, a city of immense religious significance to both Christians and Muslims. The subsequent siege of Jerusalem was a brutal affair. After weeks of fighting, the Crusaders breached the city walls and unleashed a massacre upon the city's inhabitants, leaving a bloodstain on the history of the Crusades. With Jerusalem in their hands, the Crusaders established the Kingdom of Jerusalem, a fragile Christian state surrounded by Muslim neighbors. The First Crusade had achieved its primary objective, but it came at a heavy cost. The Second Crusade, from 1147 to 1149, stands in stark contrast to the relative success of its predecessor. It was a costly failure that exposed the logistical challenges and internal divisions that plagued the Crusader states. The fall of the county of Edessa, one of the Crusader principalities established after the First Crusade, to the forces of Zengi, the Atabeg of Mosul, in 1144, sent shockwaves through Christendom. Pope Eugenius III issued a new call to arms, urging European rulers to defend the remaining Crusader territories. This time, the crusade was led by two of Europe's most powerful monarchs, Louis VII of France and Conrad III of Germany. Despite the high hopes and initial enthusiasm, the Second Crusade was beset by problems from the outset. Disagreements between the French and German contingents, logistical difficulties in traversing Anatolia, and a lack of clear military objectives hampered the Crusader armies. The disastrous defeat at the Battle of Dorylaeum in 1148, at the hands of the Seljuk Turks, effectively spelled the end of the Second Crusade. Demoralized and depleted, the Crusader forces retreated. Louis VII and Conrad III, along with their remaining troops, limped back to Europe in disgrace. The Second Crusade failed to achieve its objectives and served as a harsh reminder of the challenges of maintaining Christian control in the volatile region. Section 4. Lions and Eagles, the Third Crusade. The Third Crusade, from 1189 to 1192, is perhaps the most romanticized and mythologized of all the Crusades, immortalized in literature and film. This period saw a convergence of legendary figures and dramatic events that have captured the imagination of generations. It was a clash of titans, pitting three of the most iconic figures of the age against each other: Richard I of England, Philip II of France, and the charismatic Muslim leader Saladin. Each of these leaders brought their own unique strengths and strategies to the battlefield, making the conflict even more compelling. The capture of Jerusalem by Saladin in 1187, following the decisive Muslim victory at the Battle of Hattin, sent shockwaves throughout Europe. The fall of Jerusalem was not just a military defeat but a profound spiritual and cultural loss for Christendom. The loss of Jerusalem, Christendom's holiest city, was a devastating blow that ignited a new wave of crusading zeal. The call to arms resonated deeply across Europe, stirring nobles and commoners alike to take up the cross and join the fight. The Third Crusade was a desperate attempt to reclaim the Holy City and restore Christian prestige in the East. The journey to the Holy Land was fraught with peril, but the Crusaders were driven by a fervent sense of duty and faith. Richard the Lionheart, known for his military prowess and chivalric ideals, emerged as the central figure of the Third Crusade. His leadership and bravery became legendary, inspiring his troops and striking fear into his enemies. He led the English contingent, while Philip II commanded the French forces. Together, they formed a formidable alliance, though their partnership was often strained by personal and political rivalries. Despite their common goal, rivalries and mistrust between the two monarchs hampered the Crusader effort. Their disagreements and conflicting interests often undermined their military campaigns. Philip II eventually returned to France, leaving Richard to contend with Saladin's forces. This departure marked a turning point in the Crusade, placing even greater pressure on Richard to achieve victory. The Third Crusade witnessed a series of hard-fought battles and sieges, most notably the Siege of Acre, which lasted for over 2 years. The prolonged siege tested the endurance and resolve of both the Crusaders and their adversaries. Richard's military victories, such as the Battle of Arsuf, demonstrated his tactical brilliance and earned him the respect of both his allies and his enemies. His ability to lead and inspire his troops was crucial in these hard-fought engagements. However, despite his best efforts, Richard was unable to retake Jerusalem. The city's formidable defenses and Saladin's strategic acumen proved insurmountable obstacles. The crusade ended in 1192 with the Treaty of Jaffa, a negotiated settlement that allowed Christian pilgrims access to Jerusalem while leaving the city under Muslim control. This compromise, though falling short of the Crusaders' ultimate goal, provided a measure of peace and stability in the region. Section 5. A City Divided. The Fourth Crusade and the Sack of Constantinople. The Fourth Crusade from 1202 to 1204 stands as a controversial and tragic chapter in the history of the Crusades, marked by greed, betrayal, and the shattering of Christian unity. This period is often remembered for the unexpected turn of events that led to the downfall of one of Christendom's greatest cities. Instead of reaching the Holy Land, the Crusader army, manipulated by political machinations and driven by Venetian economic interests, ended up sacking Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, a Christian city. This diversion from their holy mission shocked the medieval world and had long-lasting repercussions. The Crusades' original objective was to invade and conquer Egypt, then ruled by the Ayyubid Sultanate, which the Crusaders viewed as a stepping stone to retaking Jerusalem. Egypt was seen as a crucial target because of its strategic location and resources. However, the crusade was diverted from its intended target due to a series of events including a lack of funds and the influence of Venice, a powerful maritime republic with its own ambitions in the region. The financial strain on the Crusaders played a significant role in altering their course. The Venetians, led by the astute Doge Enrico Dandolo, had been contracted to transport the Crusader army to Egypt. Dandolo, a shrewd and ambitious leader, saw an opportunity to further Venice's interests. When the Crusaders were unable to pay their debts to Venice, Dandolo saw an opportunity to exploit the situation for Venetian gain. He proposed an alternative plan that would benefit Venice both financially and politically. He diverted the crusade towards Constantinople, ostensibly to help place a claimant to the Byzantine throne, Alexios Angelos, in power, in return for financial and political concessions. This move was presented as a way to secure the Crusaders' debts and gain a powerful ally. The arrival of the Crusader army at Constantinople in 1203 sparked a series of events that culminated in the siege and sack of the city in 1204. The city's defenses were overwhelmed by the determined and desperate Crusaders. The Crusaders, fueled by religious zeal and the promise of plunder, unleashed a wave of violence and destruction upon the inhabitants of Constantinople, desecrating churches, looting treasures, and plunging the Byzantine Empire into chaos. The sack of Constantinople marked a turning point, leading to a deep and lasting rift between the Eastern and Western Christian worlds.